All right, Unranked podcast back again. Um, got Grant here. You also have.
Elijah, thanks for tuning back in. We're just going to try to hop in. It's going to be a basketball heavy segment this time. We're coming off of March Madness here. We're rolling into heavy basketball playoff hunt.
Mhm.
So we're just going to start talking about rolling into a team that's nowhere near the playoff hunt, but both of a local favorite for ours. And
Yeah,
hopping to the Pistons first, followed up by two teams that are heavy favorites to get to the ship at least.
yeah, and yeah. No, piggyback off what Elijah said. The team that's near and dear to our heart. Team we grew up, watching have a lot of success back when we were middle school, high school. But as of late, they haven't really been that successful. The Detroit Pistons. Definitely. The goal is kind of to be quote unquote tanking right now. Ideally, I'd love to have a top three pick. Obviously, everybody want or love a number one pick. But I'll say I do like where we're at overall. Got quite a few rookies that are making some heavy contributions. Got about 15, 16 games left in the season. So I think this is next couple of weeks will be a good evaluation of, you know, who they may, think can kind of hang around and be a huge impact. And I mean, it's kind of depending on how some of these guys play, who could we maybe put into a trade package and move on to get some better players. I personally would like to keep them and just see if we can maybe sign some key free agents and, create like a strong nucleus because we do have Jeremy Grant as well still. He's been a little banged up and not playing a ton, but I mean, he's definitely led the team in scoring when he has been out there. So just want to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I truly kind of believe that the Pistons should go for the tank. It's kind of counterproductive to what I would normally believe in, but I think for the last 10 years, the Pistons have kind of bounced around in the barely making the playoffs to barely missing the playoffs. It's one of those, 35. You can pencil in from 35 to 45 wins in a first round exit. So I think at least it looks like we're having some sort of structure on what we're doing. We're shedding bad contracts. We're getting good young core in. Sadiq Bey was a hit. He seems to be one of the better shooters of the draft. I seen the stat earlier that he's hitting like just under three threes a game, which is crazy. Averaging like 11 and 11-4 a game. He's seemed to be a rising star. I like I don't know. I like the big guy in the middle with Isaiah Stewart. I think he shows a lot of I think you said this a lot before, but a lot of Ben Wallace like characteristics. Just big, he's a big guy, like what 6'8", 240, 250, and so I think if you stick with that, get lucky in the draft where they don't, they can mess around and get a top three pick, not get jumped in the draft by your own divisions, which seemed to happen last year in the draft, and then make the right pick. I personally think the right pick would be go for one of the guards. If you do land a top three pick, one of the guards being you know Cunningham or the kid from Gonzaga, Thugs. Yep, yep. I think one of those two. And you also brought up Mobley in the earlier conversation that we had. So I think if you can get your hands on any one of those guys, I think you're headed in the right direction with what you have. I think that's instead personally, real quick before you have it, stay away from bad contracts. I'd rather you not sign anybody versus go out and give a mid-level guy 25-30 million a year and eat into that salary cap. If in case you do hit with what you have, you don't want to make a bad decision now trying to get pretty good when you could play the cards right and be very good later.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, no one, I mean, Detroit's never been like, they're not like a Miami, LA, right? Like, they're not going to be like a huge free agent destination. I do agree in the sense that, you don't want to be, paying just players a ton of money just because, like, they're kind of there. I mean, I think it's just important they need to just kind of fill that team out. They need to create depth. And I think that, they could do that. I do love those three rookies they have right now. Even Killian Hayes is starting to look a little solid. He's starting to come on after coming off that hip injury. But I wouldn't be surprised if those names kind of start to come up around the draft or just in the off season, just maybe trying to put together a little bit of a package to get a solid player.
Yeah.
Maybe like I mean, you never know. I mean, there's a lot of players out there that going to be free agents this year. You know, might be able to snag a couple of them. They do have some important or some really key players that are testing free agency. So in due time, we'll see. I think it'll be it's showing a lot of promise. I mean, probably still about 3 to 5 years out from maybe being like a playoff, perennial playoff team. But I like where the direction is going.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the player that we're leaving out that could be the biggest trade package we have would be Jeremy Grant. I think he's averaging 22, 23 a game, 4 or 5 points, a couple of rebounds, assists a game. I think he's one of the guys that that could be a guy that we could use as a big trade piece to put together something along maybe with one of the younger guys. But I also think he might not be a bad guy to keep if you with the young guys as in general. I think if he continues at any sort of projection that he has now, he's proven that he's going to be a pretty solid player. Along with the guys we've already mentioned, Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart. I think you're putting together a very good core, and I think you play your cards right in the draft. You play your cards right and get a couple of just solid, like you said, role players, solid role fill to bench out. You could easily shoot up in the East. There's look at like the Knicks, look at a team like Charlotte, who you put one player in there that energizes everybody, and it has a big ripple effect for what can happen to the team. So you put a couple of solid pieces there and one guy that ignites it all, and I think that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, I agree there. I mean, those are some good examples as well. I mean, Julius Randle. I mean, he's definitely starting to come into his prime. I mean, you talked a lot about him. Just when he got drafted by the Lakers, coming out of Kentucky. I mean, yeah, if they can kind of find somebody like that caliber, not a superstar, but just kind of like getting there on the cusp. I mean, I had to do a little more research as far as some names of some ideal players that I think would kind of fit in that what Detroit's trying to do. But yeah, I mean, I like where it's going. Like I said, it's going to be one of those things. You just got to kind of be patient, but in due time, I think they will be able to turn it around.
Yeah, no, and I think that's how if you're a Pistons team, that's how they've always done it. They've got lucky in the draft. They've signed unwanted players. They've put together packages for players that like Rasheed Wallace, like Chauncey Billups, that were kind of more or less good players, but throwaways. Nobody thought they'd be great, and then put them all together. Mm-hmm. And so and you brought this up earlier, and we're never going to be the big destination. We're never going to be the New York Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets, the LA Lakers, Clippers for that matter. As far as big trade piece, or as far as big free agents landing, but I do think taking a look at those teams and where we're sitting at in the season now is I think we're getting a clear picture of what the Lakers are, with them getting their pieces back soon. Whatever the hell the Nets got going on with their triage of whoever can play that day, and we're gonna try to make we're gonna thug it out and try to play. I think it's interesting to see it all play out, especially being on both sides of the fence here. Me being more of a KD fan, and you rolling with the Lakers on this one.
Yeah.
And those were some of the biggest, since last time we spoke, they were gobbling up all the free agents. Drummond's got picked up. Blake Griffin's got picked up from the Pistons. So it's interesting to see it all play out.
Yeah. Speaking of which, takes us into our next topic. It's no secret that these two teams, the Nets and the Lakers, they are the favorites to come out of their respective conferences to, battle in the NBA Finals this year. I personally don't think that the Nets will make it to the finals, but that's a conversation for another day. Maybe a little bit today too, but yeah, I mean, I'm curious, you being a KD guy, we don't have to get into the Twitter wars and all that type of stuff that he's been doing, but we could definitely, I just want to see like what your thoughts are. I mean, I heard that Harden, Irving, and KD have only played 9 games together. Harden just has a setback with a hamstring. He's probably going to be out, for a couple more weeks. KD played like 4 minutes on Sunday after missing, 20 of the last, 16 of the last 20 games, something like that. So what are you thinking at this point in the season?
I think to be honest, I'd be lying if I say I wasn't nervous for how it's playing out. But it's like a weird optimism at the same time because somehow it's working. Just just some, you know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah,
somehow whatever two player combination they got out there, it seemed to be working. I think obviously you want to have that core structure together as much as you can, especially going up against some of the other teams in the East who are all together.
hmm
So I think that's kind of I don't know. It's a little scary. It is a little scary, and I think KD. I read somebody on Twitter. I think he was being malicious more than anything. But when KD was hurt, they said I think he has like 70 games left in his career, and I thought that was like very malicious. And then but then looking at it after coming back, they said played quarter and a half, game and a half. So I think it's like damn. So it is kind of at the point where um, if he's going to keep being banged up like this, I don't know if the other two can pull it together, and I don't know. So that's kind of just being perfectly honest.
yeah,
Especially with I would say the biggest threat in the East would be Embiid. Um, I think we brought up way early when we started recording as far as if he decided that he wanted to play like this, then he couldn't be stopped. And I think he decided that he wanted to play. I don't know if that's Doc Rivers. I don't know if that's him just realizing he's the biggest motherfucker out there. But I think he's coming to his own more or less. And I think that's the biggest hesitation for the Nets to get out of this. But
no, I agree. I mean, I guess I agree with most of that. I guess where I'm coming with. I mean, I do agree in the sense that I mean they have arguably three out of the top 10 players in the league, top 12 players in the league. Got two of those that can show up. You're going to have good chances every night. I mean, I would even argue Harden even by himself can be quite dangerous, quite effective running that team. I saw them; they were down like 15-20 most of the game out in Phoenix a few weeks back, and I mean, it was just him. KD and Kyrie were out, and he came out 35-point triple double, brought him back, won the game for him. So there's dangerous. There's a dangerous team. There's one of those. Anytime you have like three guys in the same team that go for 40, if you can get two out of three of those guys, just have great nights. I mean, you don't really even need a perfect night from the supporting cast. Like you just have a fighter. We call it a puncher's chance. So I just think my thing with it is kind of just like our the chemistry part of things. And we've kind of seen that. Sometimes Kyrie, definitely respect whatever he's doing. I don't really have like a quarrel with like him kind of taking time off. Like I don't, if you need that time, you need that time. That's kind of one of those things where it's like, is he going to kind of, have to step away during the playoffs, or is that, where will he kind of be with things along those lines? And the injuries are just tough. Like you got Hard with a hamstring, you got Katie coming off an Achilles quad injury. I mean, all these just like lower body, just soft tissue type, injuries. They don't.
who the fuck is their trainer?
Yeah, I mean, like you don't. I mean, trying to play basketball, especially the NBA at a high level with those type of lingering injuries, and they're not going to go away. I mean, that's these guys are starting to play. I think I heard that the Heat were playing like 8 games over the next 12 days. A lot of these postponed games are starting to get rescheduled. They're playing essentially every other night. I don't think any team maybe gotten like a 3-day break in between a couple games here and there all season, but the season's just so condensed. So we'll just see how they can kind of hold up. I think like I said, they just got to have at least two out of the three, in my opinion, to get them to the conference finals. I think they will need all three to be healthy to get them over that hump and get them to the finals. In my opinion.
I agree.
So
I agree, and I think you said you brought up condensed basketball, and I think that's rippling through the league. I mean, even the Lakers are suffering with their two biggest stars being out, uh, and I think that's kind of I don't know. The NBA have to figure that out to some degree. I don't want to get too far off what we're scheduled to talk about, but I think the fact to bring up the condensed basketball, and when I want to watch a game, there's not one good on TV. Is I'm watching. the Lakers without LeBron and AD. I'm watching the Nets with just one of the stars. I'm watching, uh, somebody's always missing from a team. So I think it's very hard to watch and hard to scale who's what.
Yeah,
So
it is. I
I
agree.
think yeah, I
I
think the
agree.
Lakers are suffering from that too. They're two guys being out for several months. Just trying to stay afloat.
Yep.
I think they probably don't have a lot to worry about, but you go on a couple game losing streak, you could be in one of the playing games. So I
Mhm.
think I think it's just putting a lot of stress on all the rosters in general, showing your depth. And
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I no, you hit it on the head just with the injuries part. I mean, I think I saw today alone like KD, Harden, Damian Lillard. Um, you got that's three all stars right there, just not available. Haven't been available. A couple of them haven't been available for the last 2-3 weeks to a month. And then Lakers. I mean, I think the Lakers they're showing they have a pretty strong supporting cast. They definitely did catch some breaks. Kyrie got ejected in that Brooklyn game. They ended up being able to win that game pretty handedly, even though KD playing. Um, they were able to play Charlotte without LaMelo Ball not too long ago. So they definitely have played pretty bad. Like they got blew out pretty bad by the Knicks, and the Knicks are on fire. Even though the Knicks are like playing really, really good basketball right now, but they've caught a couple of breaks to where I think they might be kind of hovering right around 500, maybe a couple games below 500, catching. They caught Utah. You caught Utah with like both their all stars out. Like they only played like 9 games or 9 guys total. So I think but I do still feel like they're in a better position than the Nets because I think they do have like more like talent that can just kind of like maintain. They got like some nice solid veterans. Um, but you are right. I mean, they say AD's supposed to come back like Thursday. So LeBron still got a few weeks. So, I mean, 2, 3, 4 game losing streak and let somebody under them like Golden State get hot. They could definitely be, flirting with, I don't think you don't want to get too low. You don't want to, even though I would take them, I'd take a healthy Lakers over the Clippers. But you don't want to have to kind of fight that battle that early in the playoffs. So hopefully they're
yeah,
able to
I agree.
get healthy and you know, be ready just in time. I think the playoffs start right around like May 20th, like the 25th, right in that range. So, we'll see. We'll see what'll happen. But if LeBron and AD are healthy, I'm taking them. I think they'll go through the West pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they even without the best record, they would have to be one of the favorites.
Yeah.
So I tend to I feel less confident about the Nets now, but that's mostly due to injury than I would be than I you know what I mean. I just think if they can get their shit together, then it's possible. But I think it's I don't know. It's getting kind of crazy now. They're playing the musical chair thing with who's going to be healthy, with who's for what reason,
Yeah. It's
and yeah.
it's tough to watch. I mean, we've missed out on some good like regular season basketball. Like they've played each other twice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think only LeBron and Kyrie were available for the first meeting. Where Brooklyn, I think Harden might have been playing. They beat them pretty handedly, and then they go out to LA. Even though Lakers still found a way to win, but I mean, you had Kyrie for a half, and then you had KD for he was playing, but he had like 7 turnovers. Wasn't really playing his game. I think he kind of got exposed to playmaker. He's more I think you just want to rely on him for scoring solely. But yeah, overall, I mean, this season has just really been. It's just a lot of the injuries has kind of put a little bit of a damper. Catch myself like checking Bleacher Report of like who's playing tonight. That kind of dictates if I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch a documentary or if I'm gonna watch basketball because I'm not really a fan of tuning into a 10 o'clock Lakers game when two of their best players aren't playing. So
you know, like the Clue show.
I like Kuz. I will watch Kuz. I just like it's
I'm
tough.
joking with you. I'm joking with you.
Yeah,
I'm
and he
listening.
he just like he plays way better when he's with them too. I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes
I mean, yeah,
these games like wild cards. I mean, you just never know who's gonna go off, and everybody come out hot, everybody come out cold. It's just kind
right.
of
Yeah, I agree with that.
they show some bright spots though. Like I see why they didn't want to let go of Taylor Orton Tucker. They're like,
Yeah.
he has a higher ceiling than Kyle Lowry. Let's go ahead and try to let's hold on to him. I think he might.
They got to keep some of the youth because they don't got no damn picks.
They don't. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, Caruso. I mean, they got like legit like weapons that can play defense off the bench that are just it's impressive. Like a lot of these guys getting some good quality minutes.
I don't like Russo, but
Why don't you like Caruso? You don't like
we,
that?
can we can get to that later. But, that'd be a whole separate podcast. He's the lawyer of the league. He's the first.
Lawyer of the league? What? Wow, man. I, I don't know. I think he just plays his role. I just feel like he just be like he just an athletic dude. Just play hard defense, get a dunk like once or twice a week.
No, he always seemed to be in the right place for the nice dunk. I will give you that.
Yeah, I mean LeBron called him GOAT.
Yeah. Hey, LeBron be searching to get him the ball.
Oh yeah, you get everybody involved. Everybody, everybody involved. This might be the most experienced playoff team LeBron got. Everybody getting good minutes.
Hey, I want you to remember this. I want you to remember this when you're shitting on all of them in a couple months.
Because I will be for sure.
Hey, Caruso can't guard nobody.
Yeah.
Dave Lillard gave him 48 last night.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, man. Them bright lights, them playoffs. Playing with LeBron not easy. Like you gotta, he gonna get you there. You gotta just show up.
Hey,
You're open, hit them shots. When you open, hit them shots. Like that's all.
Next year, that's for sure.
Right, unless you want to be in that G League, coming into the next season, they'll find a spot for you. Not at the end of that bench. So
I can respect it being a cutthroat.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
man,
that's all we got for today. We'll be looking into. Going to do some really extensive NFL draft.
Yes.
Preparation. I think that's going to be. We got 9 days, so that'll be a good time to do some position stuff, and just see who we think gonna go win and where and why. So,
I agree.
Till next time, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.